Yo guys, it's Mover on the Move. After I went to IPW last week, now here back in Toronto, Ontario Science Centre, to witness the Brand USA as well as the film called American Wild National Parks. Beside me is producer Sean McGillivray. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now I want to say thank you. Just finished the film. The film is marvelous, showcasing a lot of national parks that USA have to offer. How long was this film have to be prepared with so many locations that you guys have to film?
Yeah, so it took us about 2 years to make the film. About 6 months where we were in the scripting, character development part of it, and then about a year of actually being out on location to parks across the country, and then about 6 months to 8 months of editing. And it's in the editing process where you really end up fine-tuning and telling the story, working with the writers, working with the editors, and working with the musicians. And we got fantastic music, and obviously a great narrator in Robert Redford.
Yeah, and I gotta say, a lot of our new generations, we live in a very compacted cities, to able to watch this film and actually be able to, get to see all these nature out there that we sometimes, take it for granted or even don't even have the opportunity. So I really thank you for showcasing us. I felt like we're on a ride. The way it was filmed, like we were on top of the plane, walking, and some of the things that you guys have to watch this film is the beauty that you guys didn't zoom in, but instead you decided to move way back to kind of like see the wider version of the nature. I thought that was a very cool angle to the perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, to give us a little perspective, right now we're at the Ontario Science Centre, where we just saw the film. It's huge in OmniMax. They have one of the best theaters in the world. OmniMax is just incredible. It's so unique, so different. And we've made 39 IMAX giant screen films, including Everest, which was the highest grossing IMAX film of all time. I was lucky enough to go on locations around the world. Growing up, I was a cheap extra in a lot of these films, little blonde-haired kid in the background. And our family had always wanted to make a film on the national parks, just the grandeur, the beauty, the landscapes, and we were just so excited to be able to work with the likes of Brand USA and many other partners to make that a reality. For us, being able to tell this film and inspire kids and people of all ages around the world to care for these parks, want to go to these parks, was really fantastic, especially when it's the 100th anniversary of the National Park Service this year. It's a big deal. This is the year of the parks. So I want everybody to get out there, get in their RV and go see Yosemite, Yellowstone. There's just over 400 National Park Service sites. So it's a 40-minute film. We kind of had to decide, what parks to feature. It was a tough call. So we wanted to show many of the iconic parks like Yellowstone, Yosemite, Southern Utah's Bryce Canyons, Canyonlands, Arches, Devil's Tower, but then also some hidden gems like Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore, where you get to see our three characters, amazing climbers and just people in general, climb up icy frozen waterfalls.
That was a highlight.
And you're looking at that,
spectacular.
No, and you're looking at that, you're just going, how the heck did they do that?
Question was how long you trained for this?
Honestly, I don't really train for anything. I just sort of go climbing and skiing and mountain biking with my friends. That's the honest answer. I do not work out. My arms look like this because of my parents. Good genetics. I guess my whole life I've been really adventurous and outdoorsy. I started trad climbing, which was the kind of climbing you saw in the film, where you're actually placing protection yourself. I started rock climbing, ice climbing, and backcountry skiing when I was 15, 16 years old. So it's kind of just been, a part of me.
I gotta give props to the bicep right here. Now, these biceps, not just for normal indoor rock climbing. She does the real shit, the real nature stuff. So how's the audience, the film, American Wild, what does that mean in the film?
So this film is so fun. It's so amazing. It highlights about 40 national parks in 40 minutes. And I am lucky enough to be in it rock climbing. We rock climb on sandstone in Arches National Park. We ice climb in Michigan.
That was dope.
Yeah, that was cold.
I saw that.
And yeah, we got to do so many amazing things. I've never, mountain biked with a helicopter above me before, and yeah, just absolutely amazing scenery. And
Speaking of the mountain bike, there was one scene when one of the guys, I don't know his name, Max or whoever. Eric. How
Porter.
on earth he was freestyling, and he knows where to stop. And I looked at the film, I was like, wow, he could have dropped a cliff.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, there's this moment where, he rides through this, it's so much steeper than it looks. It's through this, chute. I was like, I'm not going through there. And yeah,
Right.
he goes up to this canyon edge, and your breath just and he is a professional mountain biker. I am not, but he actually has, at the time that was filmed, he was telling us about his kid, and he was like, yeah, my kid's pretty fast on the pump track. He's 3, so
Yeah.
it's one of those things where, he's just committed to the adventure lifestyle and to being a pro mountain biker, just like Conrad Anker, who is world-class mountaineer. That's his career. So it's pretty amazing seeing all of these, stories of adventurers kind of intertwined in this film, as well as just lots of absolutely stunning natural, vistas.
A lot of film, just focus on nature with no human beings, no the actors are human beings. How important are the impact that you incorporate the actors, the human beings, to kind of use it as a channel to incorporate with the rest of the nature?
Yeah, I think it's important. You don't have to have characters in films like these, but I think it's important. I think it can add another element. It can have people identify with the characters, or just start to like them and get a sense of who they are. And for us, it meant that you got to see incredibly entertaining rock climbing, which you'd never expected. Obviously most people aren't going to do that. 99.9% of the people aren't going to do anything like what you're going to see when you come here. But seeing Rachel Pohl, one of our main characters, on Devil's Tower, climbing up these rock formations where she's basically Spider-Woman, going up these rock faces, you feel like you're there. You feel like you're transported to Devil's Tower. You feel like you're transported to the Grand Canyon, to Yellowstone, Yosemite. And you really, it's hard to experience that anywhere else other than either being there or seeing it in a theater like this, where it's so big, so tall, so immersive, and just such a great place.
Yep. So we saw the national parks from the perspective of someone that loves adventure, action junkie, dangerous activities. How do you think your traditional family that wants to go camping and make s'mores, how do they feel compelled to come to these national parks?
For us, it is a lot about entertaining and getting people inspired and excited. And we know that not everybody's Rachel, not everybody's Conrad, not everybody's Max. And obviously, 99.9% of the people that come to the parks aren't going to do anything at all like that. But we were thinking, God, if we had people just walking or even running in the parks, it could get boring fast. So that's why we did it. Telling us the story of the history of these parks while showcasing in a way that just blows people away.
We get 25% of our audience from school field trips. So for a lot of these kids, it might be the first time that they've experienced these places. And then they might come home and tell their parents, hey, let's do this. Let's get an RV.
Yeah. How important, during the IBW, Brand USA was showing the national parks as well as showcasing the great outdoors. How important is it with the tourism of this film and the promotion with working with Brand US to make it like a tourism and travel to showcase the nature in the United States?
Yeah, so right now the film it'll be playing in just over 100 theaters around the world. It's doing incredibly well, from New York to LA, sold out crowds, fantastic reviews. And it's playing in these amazing museums and science centers around the world, partners of ours, where it's not only about having people experience these wonderful places, but also learn about them, learn about the history, learn about why they're so important to protect. You know, we were able to partner with the National Park Service and National Park Foundation, and their big goal for the year is to get millennials so that they understand how important these places are. And so with this type of film, you know, I think we're going to do a lot to inspire and make people care about these places.
Air Canada, together with Air Canada Rouge, is the largest international carrier to the U.S. with over 240 non-stop flights a day from Canada to over 55 airports in the U.S. And just a side note, Air Canada Rouge third anniversary is this Friday on July 1st. Since the start of May this year, we've been very aggressive. Air Canada has launched 11 new U.S. transborder routes, Toronto, Washington Dulles, Jacksonville, Portland, and Salt Lake City, Montreal to Philly, Denver, and Houston, Calgary, Phoenix to San Francisco, and finally Vancouver to San Jose, San Diego, and Chicago.
To celebrate the 100th anniversary of the U.S. National Park Service, President Obama and the First Family celebrated this Father's Day weekend visiting national parks, Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico and Yosemite in California, bringing the total to 30 national parks that President Obama has visited during his tenure as president.
What is harder, rock climbing or ice climbing? Like in terms of like the equipment and the way you approach the nature, like which one's harder? Do you think?
I think that ice climbing is more difficult both in terms of accessibility for the average person and physically, because it is in the cold, because you do have to deal with freezing hands, freezing feet, and it's definitely, ice is very dynamic. So you saw, in the film you will see Conrad climbing ice with blue skies, and he's kicking it off, and it looks warm, it looks fun.
Yeah.
And then you also see scenes of us ice climbing in a blizzard. And so that kind of dynamic, and the ice is always changing, I think definitely makes it more difficult. Whereas rock climbing, you can go to your local bouldering gym and, you know, with just a pair of shoes and a little bit of chalk to, you know, dry your hands, you can start climbing immediately. Whereas ice climbing takes a lot more effort and, you know, time investment. Yeah.
Now, you know, American Wilds. What was some of the wild things that happened, you know, that was off record that is memorable to you?
Well, there's definitely some moments that we were not anticipating, such as our friend Eric Porter falling off of his bike. There's a scene that, like, I'm not ruining anything because it will still just startle you, seeing this amazing athlete just fall, like, to his face from up high. And so that kind of thing.
But that's what makes it real, though.
But that's what makes it real, exactly. Yeah. And then also, I don't know, I think climbing the 3 penguins and arches.
There was penguins there?
There were penguins. It's this rock formation. It's a sandstone rock formation at the mouth of Arches National Park. And so it's pretty cool because that's actually within a quarter mile of the park entrance is where we climb up this sandstone monolith that kind of looks like penguins. And we were filmed with a helicopter. I climbed the top part like 12 times. So I kept having to climb and then get lowered and then climb and then get lowered. And there's like sand blowing and like in my eyes. And I was like, rotor wash, I can't see, but I'm smiling and just don't look at the camera. Like, it's pretty amazing. 300-pound camera like strapped to the front of a helicopter. And I'm not allowed to look at it. I was like, that's really?
You know, you're one of the lucky ones, like the young generation. A lot of us take things for granted, like the nature around us and national parks. Mm-hmm. Your experience is definitely different. What are some of the things that you would like to tell the millennial, the younger ones, about the importance of knowing the nature and the surroundings and the beauty of the national parks that we actually is available to us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have definitely seen. I've used to work with, I guess you could call them like troubled youth, but really they're not troubled. Our society is troubled. But I used to work with at-risk kids and, you know, from 8th grade to 12th graders and take them skiing and climbing and rafting in Montana where I live. And so I've definitely personally seen both sides of the coin. You know, I've seen what it's like when kids don't have opportunities to get outside, and then I've also seen how they can flourish through being outdoors. And I don't even mean that we all need to start rafting. Like, that's just like amazing. Just going outside and getting off of our phones and our computers, and like not constantly being bombarded by these images of like what we should be, and just going outside where there's not even any mirrors. You know, like leaving the phone at home. I think if we can somehow get people out there, they would realize like, oh, I do fit into part of this greater whole of this planet, and like being outside is such a fundamental part of being human. And so we can get, you know, teenagers and, you know, people like me in their 20s outside. I think we're going to see a healthier society that cares about their bodies, that cares about the environment, and that like deeply, deeply feels that national parks are a valuable way to spend time and resources. And so I really hope that this film inspires people to go visit parks. Or to even go to the park across from their house and like maybe learn how to slackline, maybe get a membership at their local climbing gym, and like, you know, eventually go climb outside. I really think that this will have a positive impact on viewers.
You know what, you already had a positive impact to the audience today, especially me seeing the beautiful national park. You know, special 100th anniversary shout out to the national park. And you know, if you want these kind of biceps, you probably have go and check out national parks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mulverney Xavier.